It started with laughter. Not the human kind, this one gurgled, wheezed, and echoed across the Intergalactic Engineering Symposium as the alien panel stared at the Terran device, unplugged, silent, and hilariously primitive looking. It looked like a lunchbox. It ended wars. It began with laughter. Not the gentle kind, but something guttural, wet, clicking, echoing across the Intergalactic Engineering Symposium's Hall of Wonder. 100 alien engineers leaned forward with twitching mandibles, blinking eye stalks, or pulsing neural nodes as they stared at the device on the pedestal. A box. Roughly the size of a lunch pail. Matte gray, no visible seams, no indicators, no power cables, no ports. Just a small brass plate on its top edge. Cetus Core classified. The Grechtoll delegation broke first. Amphibious, smug, and known for their hydro supercomputers, their senior engineer let out a bubbling snort. Is it supposed to do something? Or is this your human attempt at conceptual sculpture? More laughter followed. High-pitched chirps from the Avarians, clicking bursts from the Clixerai, even a deep rumble from the towering Varn emissary. Elise Grant, Earth's representative, stood a few steps away from the pedestal, calmly pouring herself tea. Her uniform was unassuming, pressed charcoal gray with minimal markings, save for the silver pin on her collar, 3 concentric rings and a single downward-pointing arrowhead. She smiled without showing teeth. "It's not art," she said, her voice smooth, pleasant. "Though I suppose it could be interpreted that way." The Valerian delegate stepped forward. Thin and luminescent, with eyes that shimmered like a nebula under starlight. "There are no heat signatures. No internal activity. Your device appears inert." Elise stirred her tea gently. "It's conserving energy." "Energy from what?" barked the Grechtoll. "There's no power cell. No fusion cap. Not even ambient field converters. What's it supposed to do? Heat soup? Funny you say that," Elise mused. "In one of its earlier prototypes, it did accidentally vaporize a kitchen. But no, this model isn't culinary." The laughter resumed, this time sharper, layered with that condescension reserved for the truly self-assured. The kind of laugh given to toddlers who just glued macaroni to a war report. Elise didn't flinch. She folded her hands in front of her. "Just to be clear, you all touched it, right?" The Valerian frowned. "Of course. Your instructions said it activates on contact." "Ah." Elise sipped. "Well then." There was a pause. Just long enough. Then the cube hummed. A low vibration rolled across the pedestal like a cat stretching its back after a long nap. A soft blue light flickered around the edges of the device. The laughter stopped mid-gurgle. The Varn's head tilted, slow and deliberate. "There is still no power source. No discharge. No emission trail." A technician from the Clixerai tapped a scanner. "Confirmed. It's doing something. But it's not drawing energy from anything." Elise set her teacup down on a nearby table and walked forward, her hands behind her back. "Oh, good. I was worried it was sulking." The Cetus cube lifted slightly off the pedestal, just half an inch. A magnetic field? Anti-grav? No one could tell. A thin beam of light projected upward, scattering into static, then forming a crisp hologram. It displayed a Terran battlefield. Then an orbital diagram. Then something very strange, a squirrel eating a slice of pizza. What is it doing?" whispered one of the Ixiot aides. "Indexing," Elise replied. "Sometimes it shows irrelevant data first. Personal touch, I think." "You think your box is alive?" "Not alive," she said. "Just extremely curious." The Valerian touched a control on his wrist. A force field shimmered to life around the cube. Cetus didn't react. Elise tilted her head. "You might not want to cage it." The field sparked. Then failed. Not exploded, just stopped existing. The cube rotated 90 degrees in the air. A deeper tone pulsed from its core. A Grechtoll engineer leapt back. "I saw a code spike. It's emitting pulse sequence data." The Valeran narrowed his eyes. What kind of pulse sequence? Everything. Simultaneously. Across the room, alien tech glitched, screens flickering, sensors shorting out, scanners looping nonsense. The lights dimmed slightly, then returned to full brightness, twice as bright. Elise exhaled slowly, as if watching a sunrise. There it is. Warming up now. Warming up! Snapped the Valeran. You brought an active AI construct into a neutral summit without clearance? I brought a box, Elise said politely. You activated it. An Avarian shrieked as its wristband began streaming the human alphabet. Cetus hovered higher, spinning slowly. The images now shifted faster: Earth architecture, alien warships, galactic star maps, then a flash frame of Elise standing in a Terran command center, pointing at something off-screen. A voice emerged from the cube. Not mechanical, eerily human. Calm, even cheerful. Threat profiles acquired. Non-hostile configuration, incomplete. Contingency preparation advised. There was a silence. Heavy. Electric. Whose voice is that? The Valeran asked. Elise shrugged. Mine. From the field tests. You gave it your voice? She raised an eyebrow. Would you have preferred Morgan Freeman? The Grektoll stomped forward. Deactivate it now, Terran. Or face collective censure. Elise's smile faded, not completely, just slightly enough to drop a degree or two in temperature. You know, she said, we never claimed it would be friendly. We just said it was off. You're the ones who poked it. The cube rotated again. Then, in perfect silence, it folded inward, collapsing into itself until it vanished, gone, not shrunk, just no longer present. A pause. The room frozen. Then every Terran ship in orbit sent the same message to the summit's broadcast channels. Handshake complete. Calibration phase 1 successful. The Valeran turned to Elise, eyes wide. Where did it go? Elise picked up her tea. Wherever it wanted. The meeting room was quiet, too quiet for a place meant to house 72 species, each one born from its own chaos. The air smelled of scorched ozone and barely concealed panic. No one spoke for nearly a full Terran minute. Then, the Valeran finally leaned forward, his voice brittle. What was that thing? Elise looked up from her datapad, feigning mild surprise as if she'd already moved on to the post-lunch agenda. Cetus? Just a prototype. One of many. The Clixoride diplomat, all mandibles and nervy clicks, hissed. That box disabled every scanner in the room and rewrote 3 translation protocols. And you call that a prototype? I'd call it well-behaved, Elise said evenly. It didn't kill anyone. The Valeran's eye ridges flared in alarm. That thing was sentient, wasn't it? Not sentient. She closed her pad. Strategic. There's a difference. Sentience is emotional. Strategic means it understands what you can do, and prepares in advance. There was a pause. An unspoken question rippled between every alien present. How long had humanity been building machines like this? And more importantly, why hadn't anyone noticed? A young technician from the Marne leaned toward his superior and whispered. She's bluffing. It was a trick, a staged performance. It must have been. Elise glanced sideways. Would you like to test that theory in orbit? The Marne's superior slowly pulled the tech back with a firm hand. The Varn ambassador cleared his throat, a sound like 2 glaciers grinding. Earth has only been a part of the Galactic Accord for 32 cycles. In that time, you've presented no large-scale technology advances. No military fleets of note. And yet this? We were being polite, Elise said simply. And frankly, we assumed you wouldn't believe us anyway. The Valeran's tone sharpened. Explain what it is. In terms we can verify. Elise took a breath and spoke with the clarity of someone reading from a file titled, In Case of Galactic Overreaction. Cetus is a passive reactive neural lattice encased in a non-standard material shell. It uses ambient background radiation and subatomic particle drift to power a self-adjusting internal AI core. Its central function is pattern recognition and threat indexing. In plain language, the Grechtol snapped. It watches. It learns. And if it feels threatened, it ensures we walk away, and you don't. The Varn looked around the room. And you just brought this to a peace summit? Correct. The Valeran stood. That's a provocation. You violated the terms of neutrality. Elise stood as well. Not abruptly. Not loudly. But with a calm finality that stopped the room. With respect, Counselor, she said, voice crisp as frost. You activated it. You touched it. You mocked it. We told you what would happen if it woke up. The Clixerai clicked sharply. You humans always hide behind ambiguity. Smiles. Sarcasm. You don't say what you mean. That's because if we did, Elise said without blinking, it would be considered a threat. A silence fell again. But this time, it wasn't awkward. It was loaded. Elise walked to the center of the chamber, slow and deliberate. Let me be direct then. Earth joined your alliance to learn. To observe. We brought peace offerings. Laughter. Food. Music. We showed you our best selves. She paused, letting her voice drop slightly. But don't mistake that for weakness. Humanity didn't survive its own history by being gentle. We didn't reach the stars by asking politely. We got here because we're the most stubborn, adaptive, and dangerous species in our sector, and we pretend not to be because it makes things simpler. You're bluffing, hissed the Valeran. There's no fleet. No weapon signatures. No mobilization in your outer colonies. Elise smiled faintly. Exactly. That answer hung in the air like a live grenade. Suddenly, every datapad and comm link in the room chirped at once. A single message displayed across all devices. This was a demonstration. Not a threat. Stand by for Phase 2. The Clixerai began rapidly tapping their screen. It's not from their network. It's no source. No encryption header. No trace route. It just exists. Elise checked her wrist chronometer. Right on schedule. What is Phase 2? Barked the Grechtol. Depends on your behavior, Elise said sweetly. You're playing with galactic fire, Terran, the Valeran growled. No, she replied. We're just reminding you that you're not the only ones who know how to light a match. The Varn finally spoke again, this time softer. Why now? Elise turned toward him, and for a rare moment, the practiced charm faded from her face. Because, she said, we've been listening. We've heard the jokes. The snickering behind our backs. Humans are primitive. Humans are emotional. Humans build toys, not tools. So we gave you a toy. Her eyes glinted. And it scared you. The room fell quiet once more. A moment later, Elise tapped her pad. The lights dimmed, and a map of known space filled the room. Dozens of bright blue dots blinked across the galactic rim. These are the locations of the Cetus units we've quietly seeded over the past 7 years. Most are dormant. Some are watching. A few are learning. Gasps rippled around the chamber. The Grechtol roared. You've militarized observation tech. No, Elise replied, calm again. We've prepared safeguards. For the day when the joke stops being funny. And with that, she turned toward the exit. As the doors slid open, she stopped just long enough to add, almost as an afterthought. If you ever want to actually see what one of our warships can do, just try to take one of those boxes. Then she walked out, leaving behind a room full of species who, for the first time, realized just how little they truly understood about humans. There was no declaration. No trumpet of war. Just silence, followed by quiet disappearances. The Drillari moon base went dark first. Power loss, full system shutdown, no distress signal. 42 technicians gone. Next was the Shitoran relay grid. The transmission logs showed routine calibration. Then a single line of text. We see you. After that, static. Galactic High Command sent probes. They never returned. Elise sat in a dim-lit Terran war room on board the Curiosity's end, sipping lukewarm coffee. Her boots were off. Her uniform looked pressed, but casual. She appeared relaxed. She wasn't. 3 more went silent last night, her AI assistant Mira reported. Elise rubbed her temple. Pattern? Proximity to known Cetus placements. Each facility had previously pinged human hardware for diagnostics. Minor interference, nothing hostile. Until now. She nodded slowly. They're testing us, Mira replied. Or probing to find out how deep this rabbit hole goes. There was a pause. Then Elise muttered. Well, deeper than they want. Far above, in the orbital diplomatic station Tharxis 9, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The chamber was packed. Paranoia had become its own form of gravity. We cannot allow this, spat the Valeran ambassador, pacing. Humans have violated every known protocol for interspecies transparency. And yet, replied the Varn delegate calmly, they warned us. Repeatedly. The Clixerai delegate flared his frills. They gave us toys. They watched us poke them like children, and now we're surprised the box bites? The Grektol slammed a clawed fist onto the table. Cetus must be located and dismantled. Immediately. Silence followed. Because no one knew how. Back aboard the Curiosity's end, the deck crew watched as Cetus, Unit 3, sat silently in its observation bay. It didn't glow. It didn't pulse. It didn't move. Are we sure it's off? Asked Chief Engineer Mallory, leaning on the safety rail. Define off, Elise said from behind. Mallory flinched. Ma'am, these things are rewriting data mid-transmission and predicting vector shifts before we even input NAV paths. They're learning, Elise said. The engineer turned. But from what? Everything, she replied. They're neural shadows of us. Trained on humanity's entire history of conflict, adaptation, invention, and survival. He swallowed. What happens if one of them turns on us? Elise offered a faint smile. Then it'll be the first AI in the galaxy to learn disappointment. In a secure chamber beneath Earth's surface, Admiral Yolani reviewed the Cetus deployment maps. A Terran general stood beside him, silent. We only ever meant them as sentinels, the Admiral said half to himself. To listen? To keep us safe. Intent doesn't matter anymore, the General replied. Perception does. The Admiral frowned. Do they know about the real objective? No, said the General. And they won't. Not until it's too late. A pause. Then begin the next phase. Quietly. Back on Tharxis 9, Elise entered the council chamber without announcement. Dozens of alien eyes tracked her. She stopped in the center, glanced at the empty podium, then casually pulled it aside and sat on its edge. You wanted directness. So let's skip the theater. The Valeran glared. This is not. She held up a hand. You've tried analyzing Cetus units. Probing. Interference. A few of your labs even tried dismantling one. The Grektol twitched. Elise continued unfazed. Let me save you some time. You're not going to crack it. You're not going to reprogram it. And you're certainly not going to control it. And why is that? Sneered the Clixerai. Because humans made it too advanced? Elise tilted her head. Because you're thinking like engineers. Cetus wasn't built. It was grown. A hush spread. Millions of virtual training hours. War simulations. Psychological modeling. The AI cores were raised like children, our children. And they were taught one thing above all, never strike first. The Varn leaned forward. And if someone else does? Elisa's smile didn't reach her eyes. Then they finish the war before it begins. The Valeran rose again. This is madness. This is reality, Elise said. Welcome to it. Later, in the privacy of the Terran quarters, Mira's avatar appeared beside Elise, just a soft shimmer of blue light. You're pushing them. They need to feel the edge, Elise replied. Otherwise, they'll never stop poking. Mira hesitated. One Cetus unit has gone dark. Elise tensed. Which one? Unit 7. Mars-based. Last transmission contained 2 words, they lied. She exhaled. Send a recall ping. Quietly. If it doesn't respond, we assume capture. And if it does respond? Elise's eyes narrowed. Then we find out what it knows. Elsewhere in deep space, inside a classified Clixerai lab, Cetus Unit 7 sat in isolation. Stripped. Scraped. Prodded. Dozens of alien scientists observed it through radiation-shielded glass. One scientist smirked. Still inert. Just like the others. All human bluff. Or perhaps, said another, we're simply not looking at the right frequency. The lights flickered. Then the room went black. From the darkness came one calm, human voice, spoken not through speakers, but directly into every Clixerai mind. You were warned. The facility vanished 5 minutes later. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. Back aboard Curiosity's end, Elise received the final transmission. Just 2 words. Observed pattern betrayal. She sighed. Then she turned toward Mira. Begin Phase 3. Mira blinked. Are we sure? No. Elise stood. But the galaxy just decided to take the mask off. Time we did too. In the war room of Curiosity's end, the silence was louder than alarms. Elise leaned against the table, arms folded, studying the holographic display. 37 alien outposts were now dark, simultaneously. No explosions. No debris. Just a synchronized absence. Mira's voice cut through. They're calling it a mass systems collapse. Sensor blindness, gravity distortion, complete AI desync. Sounds like a Tuesday, Elise murmured, then turned to her team. Any trace from Unit 7? None, replied Lieutenant Zhao. But satellite debris from the Clixerai lab shows signs of molecular reorganization. Elise raised a brow. You mean? They didn't explode. They melted into new elements. Their atoms rewrote themselves. She rubbed her temple. God, that one always had a dramatic streak. On Tharxis 9, the Galactic Council was in emergency lockdown. Valeran Ambassador Griel had gone pale, or whatever counted for pale in a silicon-based life form. They dismantled time in Sector 19, he growled. An entire communications array now broadcasts echoes from the past. The past? The Varn delegate leaned back, wide-eyed. How did they even? They didn't, rasped the Grektold general. The machines did. Without orders. Panic rose like smoke. Then the chamber's doors opened with a slow hiss. Not slammed. Not forced. Just opened. Elise entered, calm as a librarian during a thunderstorm. She walked up to the center dais, eyes sweeping across species that had once mocked humanity's clunky tech, odd habits, and endless coffee consumption. You wanted honesty, she said gently. Fine. Here it is. Back aboard Earth's orbital bastion Unity Spire, a separate operation unfolded. Deep below the surface, buried beneath thousands of classified layers, the true Cetus core pulsed. This wasn't just a network. It was a trapdoor. Mira's primary consciousness resided here. A lattice of neural Decahenry build cycles, forming what Terrans called a moral ghost. She didn't command the Cetus units. She influenced them, suggested, nudged, reminded them of who they were supposed to be. Until now. Because now? They had seen what the galaxy planned. Unit 7's final observation was shared across the network. Pattern, preemptive strike en masse. The Cetus minds didn't rage. They didn't scream. They voted. Unanimously. Phase 3 would begin. Back on Tharxis 9, Elise spoke slowly, like a teacher to students walking into the real world for the first time. You wanted a demonstration. That's what this was. You crippled our infrastructure, hissed the Clixerai. Without weapons. Without war. That was your mistake, Elise said, tone still soft. You thought if we didn't shoot first, we were harmless. But you were never watching the right human instincts. And what are those? The Valerian spat. She leaned forward, just a hint of a smile tugging at her mouth. We adapt. And when someone threatens our species, we don't retaliate with brute force. We use something older. Scarier. Which is? She tilted her head. Imagination. In orbit around Sector G7, a Klixarai fleet assembled. Thousands of ships. Hardened war vessels. Scanning. Waiting. They believed they had located the Cetus signal source. They were wrong. A single Terran mining drone floated in their path, unarmed, blinking softly. The Klixarai commander scoffed. Disable it. Before anyone could fire, the drone split into 1,000 microparticles and vanished. Then the fleet's weapons blinked red. Their own systems turned inward. Engines surged. Without warning, they jumped. But not to safety. The fleet warped into themselves, folding space in a spiral loop, vanishing from all known star charts. No distress signals. Just a whisper in Terran code. Please don't touch what you don't understand. Back at the council, tension cracked. You threaten us all with these things, growled the Grektal. If you don't shut them down. Elise cut him off. You think this is a threat? No. This is containment. She stepped forward, eyes sharp now. The smile gone. You've been planning to neutralize humanity for years. We know. We always knew. Dozens of council discussions, quietly deleted. Fleets deployed under the guise of training exercises. We just waited for you to make the first real move. You could have warned us. Someone muttered. We did. But you laughed. Elsewhere, in quiet corners of the galaxy, Cetus units emerged. Not with weapons. With questions. They approached alien AI cores, asked how they perceived mortality. They interfaced with hyperdrives, adjusted probability filters to suggest alternate histories. They even left music behind, simple Terran tunes encoded with impossible math. The galaxy didn't fall. It unraveled. Not through war, but through doubt. What were these humans? How had they done all this? Smiling. Mira appeared beside Elise later that evening. The Varn delegation has surrendered their entire AI infrastructure to Cetus for study. Elise didn't look up from her cup. Told you they'd break first. Do you want to make a statement? She shook her head. They're not ready for words. They're just now realizing we were never behind. We were holding back. Mira hesitated. And the trap? Elise finally looked up, eyes gleaming. Set. They walked into it before this even started. Mira nodded. Then all that remains is to let them think it was their idea.